On today's episode, we're going to be working on the blower. So the supercharger I sent out to Kong's Performance to get the standard port job. He did a really good job, took a lot of material out. Looks pretty good. We're going to be hopefully setting that up to get it back on the car. I don't know if this video will actually have the installation, but we're going to try to get there. What I am going to do today is put new gaskets on it, which require drilling the rivets out of the old one. I'll show you what the service manual says on that. And then we're going to be installing the 1200cc injectors and the fuel rails. And hopefully, if everything goes well, we can start making fuel lines for those fuel rails, getting that over to the dual pump. So lots of stuff to do today over the next couple days. I don't know if I'll get it all in one video. This is kind of a multi-part series, as you've seen if you've been following me. So, well, let's get to work. Here in the manual, it's saying to drill out the rivet for the gasket. Drill out the gasket rivets using a drill with an outside diameter no longer than 1/8 of an inch or 3.2 millimeters. So we're going to use one a little bit smaller than that. Seems pretty straightforward. As you can see, here's a rivet. Here's a rivet. I left these on when I sent this to Kong's to protect the sealing surface in case anything dropped against it in shipping or even at their factory. These are probably still okay to use. There's no flat spots on it, but I've already bought new ones. These are AC Delco. There's a part number if you're interested for the LSA, and it comes with new rivets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure the outside diameter of those rivets and make sure I don't use a drill bigger than that, at least for now. Even though it says I can use up to 1/8, I don't want to make a big fat hole if I don't have to, because I can't put the stuff back. Let me go grab the drill and we'll start. Alright, we're right on 0. Clean that off. Yeah, pretty good. Took one of the rivets out here, and it's measuring 1.22, so 3/1000ths under 1/8 of an inch. That would explain their 1/8 of an inch in the book. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to get a little bit bigger of a bit and take out that button head. This is just how I'm doing it. The manual doesn't specifically say how to do it. It just says not to use bigger than 1/8 inch. Everything's aluminum. I'm hoping the center is aluminum. It looks like I've got that drilled out fairly well, but definitely got to get that off. Okay, that button head popped off. That one came off. Alright, so I was able to pull one of them out. You can see. I think it would have been better just to start with an 1/8 inch drill, because it would have been really bad if I broke my drill off in there. Well, not really bad. I mean, you would just have to find a way to attach the new one so it doesn't move around when you're setting the blower on there. So the one we pulled out, the rivet that comes with it goes right in there. See the button I'm talking about at the end of the we might go ahead and try to take it a little bit deeper. That's as far as I want to go. That is as far as I want to go. And it sits flush. So we're good now. And it should expand enough. I mean, they say 1/8 of an inch. That's because the rivet is 1/8 of an inch. They want as tight as possible. It will expand in there. It will hold the gasket. So we're fine. I want to go ahead and clean this area up. Get rid of this grease and garbage that's on it. I'm just going to use a paper towel with some acetone. If you use any kind of brake cleaner or anything, just put it on the rag. Don't spray it on the supercharger. You see it's coming off. I'm not going to worry about the stains from the old seal. Oftentimes you got to be careful if you use an abrasive on a finish like this, because oftentimes the finish is made a certain way, especially on engine decks where the head gasket's going to meet. It has to be a certain type of finish in order for it to seal properly. These are O-rings, so that finish could probably be a little bit less perfect, but we definitely don't want deep scratches in it where it would leak past the O-ring, because that will change our air-fuel ratio. It's unmetered air coming into the cylinder, and we don't want that. It'll actually show up as lean, and then we might have to go hunting for it if it's bad enough. So these look pretty good. All this is just staining. You can scrub, make sure it's not just dirt, and then it should be good to seal right over that. Usually if you can feel it with your fingernail, might be an issue. It doesn't look like that is actually where the O-ring is sealing. The O-ring is sealing on the inside of this black line. So that black line is not left from the O-ring like I thought. Yeah, that's definitely not on there. It collected on the upper side of the O-ring. So the sealing surface for the O-ring is actually on the inside of this black. So we're going to be fine there. Alright, so the surface underneath was all degreased. I laid the gasket on there appropriately, and I inserted both rivets. Now you can see this thing can move around a little bit. If you look down these holes, these green tabs that kind of hold the bolts for you, you can center that green up with the hole, and that kind of gets the whole gasket centered. I'm using an 1/8 inch, I don't know what they call this thing, the bit that goes in there. Anyway, hey, Harbor Freight, nothing but the best, right? I'm going to insert it all the way down, give it a pump, let it come up and go back down again. And that broke off nice and clean. And that one did too. All right, we got both sides on. Looks good. You can see where Kongs had filled in, where they burned through. I'm okay with that. The welds look good. It just means that they got a lot of material out. You can see that line right here going this way. That's where a bolt used to be. So they took out enough aluminum in there that they can't even use that bolt anymore. And back in there is where they hogged enough out to punch a hole through it. That's okay, they built it up and I have the room underneath the supercharger to accept that. The jokers will take this out and they'll weld in this little pool here, completely bulge it out with aluminum because they punch a big hole in it. The problem with that is you have to machine the water pump in order to get this portion to fit because the water pump sits right here. I didn't want to do that. I don't think it'll make that big of a difference. Maybe a few horsepower, but not worth it for me. And it was $300 or $400 more for them to do it. Well, that's it for this video. You know, if you don't feel that you can do this without busting the drill bit off, take it to a machine shop, have them do it. They've got better tools than most home people do. If you do decide to do it, one thing that I found that helped me was the drill bit in the chuck was just tight enough to get it to cut, but loose enough where the drill bit would stop and spin in the chuck when it grabbed a burr, and that kept me from breaking bits. So take your time, let that thing slip, clean the chips off the bit every 5-10 seconds of cutting, go a little more. If it slips, pull it out, clean the stuff off, blow the hole, and then go back in and just touch it and try to clean that burr up, and then clean it, and then go in and drill some more. Don't try to drill through the burr. You could bind the bit and break it. Okay, everybody, that's it for this video. It's probably long enough and boring, so stay tuned for the next one. We're going to be putting fuel rails and injectors in it. Thanks for watching.